look at Section 8 of the Hindu Succession Act. Okay. It talks about general rules of succession. Section 8 of Hindu Succession Act. It lays down general rules of succession in case of males. This section number is really important from prelims point of view. Direct question aa jata hai that which section lays down the general rules of succession in case of males. The answer is Section 8. So what does it state is that the heirs of the male who is dying intestate, they are classified into 4 categories. Class 1 heirs, Class 2 heirs, Class 3 heirs, and Class 4 heirs. Okay. Class 1 heir and Class 2 heirs, they are mentioned in the schedule to the Act. Okay. Class 3 heirs are also known as agnates, and Class 4 heirs are also known as cognates. Okay. So we will begin with Class 1 heirs, then we'll proceed to Class 2 heirs, and 3, and then 4. So we will understand the meaning of agnates and cognates while we will be dealing with Class 3 and Class 4 heirs respectively. Okay. So as far as Class 1 heirs are concerned, see, before proceeding further and delving deeper as to who all are Class 1 heirs, it is very important for you to understand that property in case of a male, Hindu male dying intestate, it firstly devolves upon Class 1 heirs, then upon Class 2 heirs. This means that if even one Class 1 heir is present, the property will not go ahead. Property will go ahead to Class 2 heirs only and only when none of the Class 1 heirs is present. Okay. Similarly, if no Class 2 heir is present, then it will go to agnates. And when agnates are not present, the property will go to cognates. Okay. So we can say that property goes to cognates only and only when Class 1 heirs are absent, Class 2 heirs are absent, and agnates are absent. So similarly is the case, property passes to the agnates when Class 1 heirs and Class 2 heirs are absent. Property passes to Class 2 heirs when Class 1 heirs are absent. Clear about this thing? Any doubts so far? So this means कि अगर इनमें से एक भी कैटेगरी में कोई भी heir present है, the property will not pass on to the next class heirs. Clear? So this means that if even one Class 1 heir is present, the whole of the property will be taken by this one heir and it will never devolve upon the Class 2 heirs. Okay. Clear as to this thing? This is what is mentioned in Section 8. First of all, it states that heirs of a male dying intestate can be divided into following 4 categories: Class 1 heirs, Class 2 heirs, agnates, and cognates. Okay. And how the property has to be devolved, or how the property passes to these categories, that has been mentioned under Section 8 only, that it will pass to the next category only and only when the previous category heirs are absent. Clear about this thing? Shall we move ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's go to Class 1 heirs. See, Class 1 heirs are mentioned in the schedule to the Act. And let's now make a chart. Okay. I'll make the chart with a green pen and I will write down certain relations with the red pen. Red means that they're not included. Okay. Green means they are included. I'll write it over here. Shall we move ahead? Okay. So this is a person who has died intestate. Okay, this person, for the purpose of Hindu Succession Act, is known as propositus. The person who has died. Clear about this thing? So let's take down his heirs, his mother. Okay. Oh, sorry. Let's move ahead. This is the person, his mother, his widow. Okay. We have his son and we have his daughter. Clear till here? No doubt. So this means if we talk about class 1 heirs, the father is not included. And it is important to remember this thing. Clear about this thing? Shall we move ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Now let's understand one more important thing. That when we are talking about the widow, see, prior to 1955, this means prior to the coming up of Hindu Marriage Act, polygamy was allowed, correct? So this means that this person who is dying may have a lot of widows. So this means that the widows, if there are more than one, they collectively take one share and divide it equally amongst them. Okay, so let's understand with the help of an illustration. Let's move forward. So first of all, if let's say this is the case, all these members are present. Okay, so the division of property will be such that all these persons will take equal share. The mother, one person, widow, one person, daughter, and son. 4 persons ho gaye. So this means mother 1/4, son 1/4, widow 1/4, daughter 1/4, and father nil. Clear about this thing? Because father is not a class 1 heir. Shall we move ahead? Shall we move ahead? Any doubt as to this illustration?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's understand again. Let's say we have the propositus. We have his mother. We have his widow 1. We have widow 2. Both married prior to 1955. Clear? So we have a son here and we have a daughter here. So the calculation of shares would be such that W1 plus W2, both the widows will take 1 share. Son and daughter each will get 1 share and mother will get 1 share separate. So this means that 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. So here the widow 1 and widow 2 will get 1 by
8.
each. Clear about this thing? Any doubts as to this illustration? Shall we move ahead? Okay, let's move ahead. We have this propositus. We have his mother. Okay. we have two widows here. Okay. So here W2 is a concubine. Okay. And we have son and we have son here. So the calculation of shares here would be, since W2 is a concubine, she will not get a share. Okay. So this means that the term widow or the wife, we can say, includes only a legally wedded wife. Clear about this thing? So here, this child will also be, this son will be illegitimate, and this son S2 will not even be granted statutory legitimacy because she's a concubine, not a married woman. Okay? So in this case, the calculation of shares would be mother W1 S1 1/3 1/3 1/3. W2 will get nil because she's a concubine, and S2 will also get nil. Any doubts as to this thing? Any doubts?
No.
Let's move forward. We have A, we have his mother, we have W1, we have W2, and she is a wife of void or voidable marriage. Okay. We have son 1 and we have son 2. So the calculation of shares over here would be that mother, okay, W1, S1, S2, and W2, okay? Since this W2 is not a legally wedded wife, she'll get nil, okay? But S2 has been granted statutory legitimacy under section
24.
Who said 24?
Ma'am,
It's section 16 of HMA. Okay, so this S2 will be getting a share because he can inherit the property of his father. So it will be 1/4 each. Clear as to this illustration? Any doubts? Any doubts to anyone?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let's move forward. So this means that here we have propositors. We already saw mother is an heir, his widow is an heir, and we have the son and we have daughter. Okay. And let's say that these son and daughter have predeceased their father. This means that they are dead before their father died. Okay. So in such a case, this son's widow will be an heir. Son's son is an heir, son's daughter is an heir. Okay. But if we take the case of a daughter, her husband is not an heir. Clear about this thing? Yahan pe, the widow of the son is an heir, but here the daughter's husband is not an heir. Clear about this thing? Shall we move ahead? So we have daughter's daughter, then we have daughter's son. Clear? So let's move ahead. Let's say now this person has also died and they all are also dead. Okay, so then we have son's widow, or we have son's son, or son's daughter. Okay, we have here in the case of is an heir, but son's daughter's son, he is not an heir. Clear as to this thing? Did you guys draw the family chart? The persons who drew the family chart, उनको लिए समझना बहुत easy है ये. Okay, we have daughter's daughter, we have daughter's daughter's son, we have daughter's daughter's daughter. Both are heirs. But in case of daughter's son, daughter's sons, daughters are heirs, but daughter's sons, they are not heir. Clear as to this thing? Any doubt till here?
No.
Okay, so as far as this thing is concerned, in 2005 amendment, I'm circling it with the color yellow. These heirs were added. 4 heirs were added. These are the 4 heirs which were added by 2005 amendment. Clear about this thing? Shall we move ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so see, when 2005 amendment came into being, there were certain rights which were granted, okay, to certain people, but also certain people were left out. For example, if this person's own sister is an heir of A, the propositors, why is it so that this particular person is not an heir? We do not have any explanation for this. Similar is the case with in this circumstance also. His sister is an heir, but he himself is not an heir. But we do not have an explanation to this. Why is there a discrimination between the sexes over here? Clear about this thing? Shall we move ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's come down to the rules of calculation. Okay. Rules of calculation are that, first of all, as we saw in these illustrations, the mother, widow, son and daughter each, they will share an equal, they will get an equal share. As in this illustration, the mother, the widow or widows together, the son and the daughter each will get an equal share. Okay? And when, if you see in this illustration, if a son or a daughter is predeceased, then the progeny of that son or daughter will be given a share as if this son or daughter is still alive. And again, in the next level, the same rule would apply, that the widow, the son and the daughter, they together will take each share, like equal share each. Okay, we'll see through an illustration. So first of all, you can write the rules of calculation. Okay, I'll dictate you. So write down the share of each son, comma, each daughter, comma, mother, comma, widow, bracket open, widows together if there are more than one. So what we have written so far, the share of each son, comma, each daughter, comma, mother, comma, widow, bracket open, widows together if there are more than one, bracket closed, is equal. Next point. A predeceased son. A predeceased son who is survived by a son, comma, daughter, comma, widow, is to be allotted a share equal to the share of a living son. Is to be allotted a share equal to the share of a living son. Written so far?
Done, ma'am.
Next point. A predeceased daughter who is survived by a son or a daughter. A predeceased daughter who is survived by a son or a daughter is to be allotted a share equal to that of a living daughter. Here, if you note, when we are writing about predeceased daughter, we are not talking about her husband. We have just written that if she is survived by a son or a daughter. Unlike in the case of a son, we have mentioned about his widow as well. Clear? So the next point is, out of the share allotted to the branch of a predeceased son, out of the share allotted to the branch of a predeceased son, the widow, bracket open, widows together, or widows together, bracket closed, comma, each living son, comma, each living daughter, will get an equal share. Written till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Next rule. The share allotted to branch of a predeceased daughter, the share allotted to the branch of a predeceased daughter will be equally divided among each son, comma, each daughter. Each son, comma, each daughter. Clear about this thing?
Yes.
Okay. So according to the discussion that we have had till now, let me give you an illustration and try to calculate the shares. Okay. We have the A propositus. Okay. We have his father. We have his mother. Okay. We have his widow. We have his son 1. We have son 2 who has predeceased, and we have his widow. Okay. We have son 3. We have who has predeceased. We have son's son who also has predeceased. And we have this son's widow. And this widow has remarried before A's succession opens. Okay, and we have these children. Now calculate the shares. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Just use your brain and let me know. Just let me know when you guys are done. Somebody speak on the speaker. Shall we discuss?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so father will not get a share because
Yes.
he's not
No,
a
ma'am.
capital share. Okay?
Yes.
So the first of all, the mother, widow, this branch, and this branch. कितने हो गए? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correct? So this means that father's share is nil. Mother will get 1/5. S1 will get 1/5. S2, since S2 is dead, so his share, he will be allotted a share equal as if he was living. This is what we wrote just now. Where
Yes,
any
ma'am.
son has predeceased the father, correct? So he will be allotted a share equal as if he was living. So if he had been living, he would have got 1/5. But since he has predeceased, so his share will be taken by his widow. So his widow will get 1/5. Clear? So here, S3 will also be allotted a share as if he was a living son, which is 1/5. And since he is dead, it will pass to SS. He is also dead. Correct? So this 1/5 has come up to SS and he's also dead. This 1/5 share was to be equally divided among this, and this. But since this widow is no longer related to the propositors because she has remarried before a succession opened up, so she will also not get a share. So in this case, this 1/5 will be divided among this person and this person equally. So it will be any doubt in this illustration? This illustration is infused with the concept of disqualifications that we studied in the previous class, right? Anybody who is not clear about the division of property that we have done in this illustration? So when we were writing about the rules, हमने ये लिखा कि देखो सबसे पहला रूल क्या था? The mother, the widow, each son and each daughter will get 1 share. यहाँ पे daughter नहीं है तो each son S1, S2, S3, mother and widow, they were to be allotted equal share. But then we also studied that if any of the son or any of the daughter has predeceased their own father, then they will be allotted a share as if such son or such daughter is still living. Okay, this is the reason why we have given this 1/5 share to S2. Okay, and then we said that this share which has come up to the branch of a predeceased son will be equally divided amongst his widow and his sons and daughters in such a manner that the widow and the son and the daughter each will get an equal share. Okay, but if we take into account this particular thing, since this widow has remarried before the succession had opened of A, she is no longer related to A because she came into the family of A by way of marriage to this son SS, and now she is no longer related, and hence she will not get a share. And so this 1/5 share will be equally divided only and only among the son and daughter. Clear about this thing? Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So let's move to next thing. So what we have discussed here is, if you take into consideration when we are talking about class 1 heirs, so they take the property simultaneously. This means if you talk about in this illustration as well, no doubt that, you know, if you talk about कि S1 present है और ये वाली तो बहुत ही next generations है, इनको नहीं मिलना चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं है, because they are dead. So this means that all the heirs which are mentioned in schedule and which are mentioned in class 1 category, they take the property simultaneously. So जितने भी class 1 heirs present होंगे उनको सभी को property मिलेगी और कोई भी किसी को exclude नहीं करेगा. Clear about this thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now let's move on to class 2 heirs. Okay, if you take into account class 2 heirs and if you see it in the schedule, they are mentioned in 9 separate entries. ठीक है? Entry number, we have entry number 1, we have entry number 2, and up till 9 entries we have. Okay, so if we talk about first entry, इसमें सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक ही heir है, which is the father, right? If you take into account class मतलब second category, subcategory, we have, who all we have? Let's mention. We have sons, daughters, son. We have sons, daughters, daughter. And we have brother and sister. ठीक है? So सबसे पहले तो बात ये आपको ध्यान में रखनी है कि when an heir is mentioned in one category, first category में अगर father हैं, present हैं, तो वो second category के heirs पर जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. So this means that heirs mentioned in first subcategory, they are preferred over heirs mentioned in subcategory 2, And similarly, heirs mentioned under subcategory 2, they are preferred over heirs mentioned in subcategory 3. And similarly, 3 are preferred over 4. 4 are preferred over 5. 5 are preferred over 6. And this goes on until the 9th category. This means, agar let's suppose all these heirs are present, so only and only father will get the property. Unlike class 1 heirs में जितने भी present थे, उन सभी को प्रॉपर्टी एक साथ मिल रही थी. लेकिन क्लास 2 कैटेगरीज में फर्दर सब कैटेगरीज हैं, सो द अपर कैटेगरी इज प्रेफर्ड ओवर द लोअर कैटेगरी. ठीक है. सो इफ एन हेयर इज प्रेजेंट इन दिस फर्स्ट सब कैटेगरी, only and only he will get a share. Okay. And if you talk about the first subcategory, only first subcategory में सिर्फ एक single heir है. बाकी जितनी भी subcategories हैं, there are multiple heirs. ठीक है. So if suppose father is dead, father is not present, so only and only then will go to subcategory number 2. And subcategory number 2 में जितने भी heirs होंगे उनको equally मिलेगा. Clear about this thing? Any doubt till here?
Sons, daughters, daughter तो मैम class 1 heir में भी था ना
Yes, I was coming to this. She is also a class 1 heir. And here is the anomaly in this whole system of heirs. हम आगे अभी separate entries करेंगे और हम देखते हैं आगे और आगे कि कुछ heirs को उन्होंने class 1 category में तो डाल दिया. She is newly added as class 1 heir in 2005. लेकिन इसको जब class 1 category में move किया तो इसको class 2 category में से delete करना भूल गया legislature. So यहाँ एक anomaly है. So हम आगे आगे देखते हैं. Sub category 3 में भी ऐसे बहुत class 1 heirs हैं जो अभी भी mentioned है. Shall we move ahead? Shall we move ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's talk about entry number 3. This is known as entry. Okay, entry number 3. इसमें कौन-कौन mentioned है? We have the daughter's son's son. He was excluded from the class 1 heir. Then we have daughter's son's daughter. She is also a class 1 heir, जिसको यहाँ से remove करना भूल गए. Then we have daughter's son, again a class 1 heir, जिसको remove करना भूल गया legislature. Then we have daughter's daughter, again a class 1 heir. Okay, then we have entry number 4, in which we have brothers or sisters son daughter. There is nothing to explain in this. ये चीजें आपको by heart learn करनी है क्योंकि prelims में आ सकता है. Clear about this thing? Then let's take into account 5th entry. In 5th entry, we have father or mother. Father and mother, okay? 6th entry में we have father's widow, brother's widow. In 7th entry, we have father's brother or sister. 8th entry, we have mother's father and mother. And in ninth entry, last entry, we have mother's sister और brother. तो आपने कुछ एक अजीब सी चीज नोट की है when we are discussing about these heirs. देखो, क्लास 1 हेयर में मदर को डाल दिया, राइट, फादर को नहीं डाला, करेक्ट. इसका मतलब when both mother and father are present, the father will never take the property, करेक्ट. लेकिन जब हम क्लास 2 heirs की बात कर रहे हैं तो सबसे पहली एंट्री में फादर को डाला है. उसके बाद जब हम ये आगे वाली एंट्रीज देखते हैं तो यहाँ पे फादर के रिलेशन को प्रेफरेंस दी है और मदर के जो रिलेशंस है उनको सबसे लास्ट में रखा है. इसके पीछे कोई भी लॉजिक नहीं बैठता. एक जगह तो आपने क्या किया है, एट वन प्लेस व्हाट हैव यू डन इज you have given mother the preference because you have placed mother as a class 1 heir, right, and she excludes the father. But in the next place, if you talk about class 2 heirs, there's a discrimination between the relations which are related by to the father and the relations which are related to the mother. The relations of the father are given preference and the relations of the mother, they are excluded. Clear about this thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's deal with an illustration. थोड़ी सी interesting है, simple है but interesting है. We have the propositus and we have his father. We have son who is predeceased. We have son who is predeceased, but we have the widow. So who will take the property?
Widow.
The widow will take the property despite of the fact, अगर आप देखो इस चीज में कि सबसे नियर ब्लड रिलेशन कौन है एक का, उसके खुद के फादर, जिनको प्रॉपर्टी नहीं मिलेगी. आगे उनके सन, उसके एक ग्रैंड सन की जो वाइफ है, she will be taking the property and not the father. So this means father's share is nil over here and SS widow will take whole of the property. Clear as to this thing? Any doubts till here?
मैम
हाँ जी.
मैम जैसे आपने बताया क्लास 2 में जो कि रिपीट हो रहे हैं वो रिमूव करना भूल गए हैं, तो हम ये मान के चल सकते हैं कि वो क्लास 1 के ही है. क्लास 2 में अगर हम
हाँ
नहीं
जी,
मान के
बिल्कुल मान सकते हैं श्रुति. द रीजन, उसका रीजन लॉजिक पता क्या है कि
जी.
देखो क्लास 2 एयर्स में हम कब जाएंगे, जब क्लास 1 एयर्स एब्सेंट है. ठीक है, तो एब्सेंट है मतलब वो ऑलरेडी ऊपर एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करते, तो नीचे ऐसा थोड़ी ना है कि क्लास 2 में वो एग्जिस्ट कर जाएंगे. इफ दे आर डेड, दे आर डेड फॉर क्लास 1 एंट्रीज ऑल्सो एंड क्लास 2 एंट्रीज एज वेल.
ओके,
राइट.
तो मैम अगर हम उनको लर्न ना करें जो रिपीट हो रहे हैं तो
नहीं, याद करना तो अभी आपको जरूरी है क्योंकि लेजिस्लेचर ने रिपील नहीं किया है उस चीज को.
ओके.
ठीक है, तो समटाइम्स व्हाट दे मे आस्क यू इज about the relations which are overlapping in class 1 heirs also and class 2 heirs also, and this is the reason why you need to learn those relations.
Okay,
Care
thank
about
you.
this thing? Okay, so let's do one more illustration today. We have the propositus, we have the mother, we have the widow. Okay. We have son, predeceased son. Son's son, son's daughter. This is another son who is again predeceased. And we have his widow. And we have 2 children over here. Okay. We have son 1 we have daughter 1, we have daughter who is predeceased, and we have daughter's husband, we have daughter's daughter, and we have daughter's son. So just calculate the shares. Take your time and calculate. Just let me know when you are done.
Yes, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Done? Shall we discuss?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So M, mother will get 1/6, widow 1/6.
Yes, ma'am.
So in case of here S, who all are getting SW plus they are getting 1/6, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
1/6, 1/6. Here 1/6 who all are getting DD plus DS. यहाँ पे इसको कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा, nil. Correct? So in this case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's talk about this 1/6. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1/24, 1/24, 1/24, 1/24. ये 1/24 किस किस को मिला है? So इनको सेपरेटली कितना कितना मिलेगा?
1/7.
1/72. Any doubts in this illustration? Any doubts? तो क्या
No.
आपने एक चीज नोट की? When we were dealing with the co-parcenary property, let's say, had this been the ancestral property, तो अगर हम बात करें A, इसका सन है, सन सन एंड सन सन सन, इनको जो A के हाथ में ancestral property है उसमें इन सबका हिस्सा है, चाहे वो इनके ऊपर वाली जनरेशन जिंदा है या नहीं. लेकिन जो सेपरेट प्रॉपर्टी है वो आपको तभी मिलेगी, इस सन 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 को तभी मिलेगी जब ये लोग सबके सब डेड हो. क्लियर अबाउट दिस थिंग? एंसेस्ट्रल प्रॉपर्टी में आपका राइट बाय बर्थ है, लेकिन सेपरेट प्रॉपर्टी में राइट बाय बर्थ नहीं है.
मैम इक्वल राइट है ना मैम सबका एंसेस्टर प्रॉपर्टी में?
हाँ जी, इक्वल राइट है. ठीक है, ठीक है. क्लियर अबाउट दिस थिंग?
Yes, ma'am.
ओके, नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू.
मैम एक थिंग थोड़ा सा मतलब डाउट में मैम है.
हाँ जी,
ये डॉटर मैम क्लास 1 है इसमें जो डॉटर इंक्लूडेड है मैम, तो ये जो 2005 वाला एक्ट आया है मैम, मतलब थोड़ा सा ये कंफ्यूजन हो रहा है मैम कि ये 2005 के बाद मिला है मैम, ये तो 1956 का एक्ट है मैम, तो डॉटर इंक्लूडेड कैसे है मैम इसमें?
किस में डॉटर इंक्लूडेड है? यहाँ
यस मैम क्लास 1 ईयर में मैम.
चंदन थोड़ा सा सोचो.
थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन हो रहा है मैम, सोचा था फिर दिमाग से निकल गया मैम क्या है आखिर ऐसा चीज.
ठीक है, आप ये कह रहे हो कि डॉटर को को पार्टनर तो 2005 में बनाया गया है ना? और यहाँ डॉटर तो इंक्लूडेड है एज एन एयर.
यस मैम। सेपरेट प्रॉपर्टी एंड एंसेस्टर प्रॉपर्टी का डिफरेंस है क्या मैम?
हाँ बिल्कुल, को पार्टनर किस में बनते हैं? को पार्टनरी प्रॉपर्टी में, एंसेस्ट्रल प्रॉपर्टी में। सेपरेट
Ancestral।
प्रॉपर्टी में डॉटर का हक पहले से था। 2005 अमेंडमेंट के बाद डॉटर को को पार्टनर बनाया गया है। शी वॉज
राइट
ऑलरेडी
मैम।
हेयर even before 2005 amendment act. She was already an heir. She was entitled to take the separate property of her father, but she did not have any right in the ancestral property. 2005 amendment के बाद उसको को पार्टनर बनाया गया, उसको राइट दिया गया एंसेस्ट्रल प्रॉपर्टी में भी। Clear about this thing? I wanted somebody to ask this question, but at the same time I wanted nobody to ask this question, because I wanted everybody to have noticed this thing and yet at the same time know about it also. Okay, good that you
थैंक यू मैम, कंफ्यूजन दूर हो गया हम थोड़ा सा। हाँ समझ में, बस थोड़ा सा डाउट आ गया।
Okay, so how many of you had the same confusion apart from Chandan? Now nobody would tell.
मैम एक बार वो स्लाइड भी अगर वो बता देगी तो थोड़ा सा, जो मैम जिसमें कि SDD सन्स डॉटर्स डॉटर एंड डॉटर्स डॉटर्स सन, ये सब जो ऐड किया गया मैम, एंड जो डॉटर्स सन्स को हटाया गया मैम 2005 एक्ट में। यस ये वाला स्लाइड हम थोड़ा सा एक बार
ये
बता दीजिए मैम।
हटाया नहीं गया है, इनको हटाया नहीं गया है। हटाया का मतलब क्या होता है? देवर एग्जिस्टेंट एंड इनको हटा दिया। नहीं, इनको कभी इंक्लूड ही नहीं किया क्लास 1 एयर में। ठीक है, दे आर नॉट इंक्लूडेड, यू मे नोट इट।
ये वाला इलस्ट्रेशन फिर से बता दीजिएगा मैम एक बार, पूरा स्टार्टिंग से, ये वाला सिर्फ जो स्लाइड अभी दिख रहा है।
ये इलस्ट्रेशन नहीं है, ये एयर्स हैं जो क्लास 1 के एयर्स हैं जो लिखे गए हैं। ठीक है, तो आप ऐसा करना चंदन, लगता है आपने नहीं बनाया है चार्ट। ए को ना अपने ए की जगह अपने अपने ग्रैंडफादर का नेम लिखना है। ठीक है, टेक अ पिक्चर ऑफ दिस और ड्रॉ दिस इन योर नोटबुक। ए की जगह आप अपने ग्रैंडफादर का नाम लिखिए। ठीक है, और उसके हिसाब से जो भी ये रिलेशंस है आगे अपनी फैमिली के हिसाब से लिखिए, तो आपको पता लगेगा। दिस नथिंग टू एक्सप्लेन इन दिस थिंग। आई विल जस्ट टेल यू कि ए का सन इज एन एयर, ए की डॉटर इज एन एयर, डॉटर का हस्बैंड नहीं है बट डॉटर के डॉटर है, डॉटर का सन है। ठीक है, आगे दिस नथिंग दैट आई कैन एक्सप्लेन यू इन दिस थिंग। इट इज फॉर यू टू ऑब्जर्व योर सेल्फ कि कौन कौन लोग एयर्स हैं। कुछ इसमें एक्सप्लेनेशन रिक्वायर्ड नहीं है। आपको अगर ये रिलेशन समझने हैं और वो नहीं समझ में आ रहे हैं, फॉर दैट पर्पस आई टोल्ड यू to draw this chart in relation to your own family, A taking as your grandfather. Clear चंदन? आप इसको करके देखना, आपको समझ में आएगा ये चार्ट, और बहुत ही सिंपल है। ठीक है, ओके। देन we said कि क्लास 1 heirs को मिलेगी सबसे पहले प्रॉपर्टी, then the property will devolve on to class 2 heirs, and in absence of both of them the property will devolve on to agnates, right? So we have to understand ki who are agnates. ठीक है, so सबसे पहले what we have to see is whose property is getting devolved. A Hindu male, correct? So he is the person जिसके कुछ relations है who are known as agnates. Okay, so we have to see that who are agnates. ठीक है, so let's take into account two situations. We have the father, we have his son and daughter, and we have son's son and we have daughter's son. ठीक है, can we separate this chart into two separate charts. Can we say it like this? Correct? So let's say he is the propositus. This is Hindu male who has died intestate. ठीक है? Now we have to determine कि जो ये लोग हैं, ठीक है, whether these are agnates or cognates. ठीक है? तो agnates कौन से होते हैं? जिनका intervening जो relation है ना, जैसे intervening कौन सा है इन दोनों के बीच में? ये. This is a male. And here intervening relationship is of a female. जब तो intervening सब के सब मेल हैं, all males, चाहे जितनी मर्जी generations ले लो, each and every intervening relation is that of a male, then the person concerned is an agnate. When the intervening relations में से एक भी जगह फीमेल आ जाए तो उसको कहते हैं हम cognates. Clear about this thing? तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि हमने जिसका रिलेशन ट्रेस करना है, मतलब when we have to find that this particular person is an agnate or a cognate, we do not have to consider the sex of that particular person, but we have to determine the sex of the persons who are intervening and through whom the relationship is being traced to the propositus. ठीक है? We will discuss about agnates and cognates once again tomorrow, and we'll begin with the devolution of property between agnates and cognates. Clear about this thing? So as far as tomorrow is concerned, we will finish with agnates and cognates, and hence we will be completing the devolution of property in case of male. Okay. After that, we will discuss few of the provisions of section 6 of Hindu Succession Act, which are applicable in relation to co-partnership property. And we will read it in such a manner that we will be only talking about male co-partners. And while understanding section 6, we will not encounter any problem because all the provisions that we'll be reading tomorrow in section 6, we have already done that. We will just go through the bare provisions that have been mentioned, so that it is clear to you that how the law that we have already studied has been written down by the legislature. So as far as tomorrow is concerned, we'll do agnates, then we'll do cognates, and then we will read the bare provisions. For this, I want you all to carry your bare acts with you tomorrow. Maybe the bare acts or in whatever manner you read the provisions. Clear about this thing?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So that's all for today. From tomorrow onwards, we'll proceed on to devolution of property of a female. Clear? And by this week's end, we'll be done with Hindu Succession Act. So that's all for today. Thank you so much.